If elected, what housing policies and programs will you advance to ensure that the residents have access to quality and affordable housing, including for low-income Mercedians?
I go back to building. We need to build. That is the main problem right now. Our housing stock is so low, we're behind, we need to build. That helps affordability across the board. It helps if we build more housing, that brings the other housing down. And and so that brings the housing all across the city down. And so we need to build, and again, in turn, that helps rentals. I would work with the council to make sure that we're building, to make sure that we're providing some housing for our low-income residents. There's already several spaces in the city that are designed to be low-income housing, and so I will work with the city to pass those and to make sure that those get put into fruition. Thank you.
I am definitely going to agree with Sayer. We need more housing, but I will also add that back in 2006, when I worked for the city of Merced, when we were issuing over 1,000 building permits a month, there were subdivision agreements with some of the developers that allowed for owner-occupied housing. So that requirement was that 30% of that subdivision had to be owner-occupied for a period of up to 6 years, 60 months, 5 years. So I would like us to see us bring back some of those conditions in the subdivision agreements. That will ensure that our Mercedians are occupying those homes and that they're not being taken up by investors for rentals or investment properties.
Thank you. I can tell you in the 6 years that I've been on the Planning Commission, we've approved more housing starts than any other time in the history of Merced. Housing is very strictly regulated by the state. They can put up a proposal to do a housing and have absolutely no low-income housing, and we cannot turn it down. We can certainly make suggestions and encourage them, but the state tightly regulates what we can and can't do in the city. I agree with Cindy completely on the UC Merced issue. More UC Merced housing will free up way more rental properties. The property at McKee and Yosemite that's almost finished provides hundreds of new student housing homes, and that'll help quite a bit.
So for those of you that have watched our council meetings in the past, one thing that I have said repeatedly is what we have done in the last 3.5 years when it came to affordable housing should have happened 10, 20 years ago. What we're seeing now is all the effects of not having any affordable housing built in the city of Merced. But we have made such great strides in doing that. We have 214 units that have already been completed for affordable housing, and we approved for 500 additional units approved. And I will say 213 of those units are in District 5. And if you drive behind Lowe's, you'll see the construction on a project right now that has 156 units of affordable housing that's coming, and these are also infilled. So we've made great strides, and I look forward to more projects that we can approve in the future.
So one of the main ideas to bring more affordable housing to Merced, like everything's been mentioning, is increasing the supply. One of the ways that we can increase supply is to change zoning. An idea I had specifically for there's a lag. An idea I had for District 5 is the old Sears building. Right now in its current condition, maybe we can change the zoning and add like a floor or two apartments above there. There's Target next door, there's grocery stores across the street, and there's a bus stop that connect directly to Merced College and UC Merced. We can also build on the infill work that has been done already by changing zoning and bringing residential and commercial together. Another policy is bringing the owner-occupied housing. Give people that intend to live in the house the opportunity to buy the house before investors.
We're talking about housing, not apartments. And that's what we're seeing a lot in the last 3.5 years, is the building of apartments. What we're lacking is an inventory of housing that's available for families. I could tell you right now, I grew up in a family of 8. We grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment. That's not adequate living for any family in our community. We need to ensure that the community also understands and knows the programs that are available to be able to access the funding that's currently available for first-time home buyers. We could build all the houses in the world, but if people don't have the means to purchase a home or understand the process, then they're just going to sit there. I think we really need to change mentalities as well, that housing, that owning a home is an option here in the city of Merced.
If elected, what are some solutions you propose to ensure existing disadvantaged communities, such as those in South Merced, get the infrastructure and improvements and investments they need, including road improvements, sidewalks, lights, water, stormwater drainage, and sewer?
So for the disadvantaged communities, I do sit on the South Merced committee with the city of Merced, and we've had really great discussions of what are some of the improvements that we can make. Even last year, I met up with Leadership Council, and we walked around Childs Avenue and highlighted some of the areas that they see that need improvements. Lights, absolutely. Proud to say that we were funded money to put in sidewalks at Cannell and Childs, which has been lacking sidewalks for years. Well, decades, to be honest. So I'm really proud that we're receiving that money. It is coming from Congressman Porte's office, but we advocated for that. We heard what was needed. And so these are strides that we're trying to make, but it really does come from listening to the community members, or what are some of the issues that we can help and solve.
So I grew up in South Merced. Grew up on 11th Street, attended Gracie Elementary. And these issues have been there my entire life. Something that we can do as a city is be proactive. We might not always have those federal funds to bring sidewalks. So what we can do? We can start saving for these infrastructure projects that we know are going to be an issue in the future. The South Merced has older infrastructure. It's going to need replacing. So what are we doing today? And my goal and proposal would be to start saving money so that when sewage lines fail, we have the money to replace it. If lights go down for whatever reason, we have the money to replace it. South Merced, there's a lot of trees. We need to have the money to repair the roads that are damaged by these grown trees.
First of all, I know you called it disadvantaged communities. I want to make sure to call it disinvested communities. These are communities that have been historically left out of the conversation, and our city has implemented historically redlining. And so when it comes to addressing these issues now moving into the 21st century is making sure that, first of all, we hire a permanent city engineer. There's a bottleneck in projects because the council members who want to continue to contract out. This is not sustainable, and this is much more expensive for our community. We need to make sure that we build a resilient community that addresses all hazards, including climate change. When we're talking about investments in our community, high-speed rail is a good example, where we need to make sure we have a community benefits agreement. As you're creating the platform, making sure that there's funds available to really go back and invest in our communities.
We're elected by district, but we're responsible to the city, and that's an important concept. You can't be narrow-minded and just look out for what's in your district. I think we can prioritize projects. If we have a committee that can look at all the needs and set priorities, then if District 2 needs sidewalks, lighting, anything more than any other place, I will support that 100%. It doesn't have to be in my district to be important. It has to be in the best needs of the city.
For me, this is kind of a double-edged sword. I've attended council meetings now for about 30 years, and the progress in South Merced is very slow. When I sit there at a recent council meeting, because the city kind of had to pay back some money, they took away a project of sidewalks in South Merced and eliminated that project because they had to pay back funds for reports that were not filed. This caused a lot of discussion at the council. So what I would like to see is, I would like to see the city use their own pavement management system plan from 2018 and match it up with their current city infrastructure public improvement plans, because right now the two do not match. All of the new infrastructure is planned for north of Olive and not south.
I've been saying for a very long time now that downtown and District 3 and District 2 inherit the problems of the city. The most trafficked roads are in District 3, which does have a lot of affected communities. And so we need to make sure that the representatives of those two districts are working together with the rest of the council to make sure that we put extra attention to those districts. And as well, I'll touch upon a little bit what Alex said, is that we need to build up our development department because we don't have a full-time engineer. We were at a meeting on Wednesday, and the ongoing theme was that they were understaffed. All the departments were understaffed. So how are we going to grow and fix our infrastructure anywhere in the city if we don't have the development department's not staffed? And to add to that is we need to educate our community how to talk to the city and use Merced Connect and things like that.